right, here we go.
Here we go. Good morning, folks. It's a Monday. It's December 6th, 2021. Welcome aboard, everybody. This is the Crushing Iron Podcast. We are episode 536.
All day, man.
All day. Speaking of all day, it is all day gross here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It is nasty.
It was yesterday, too.
It is rainy. It was disgusting yesterday. We were treated with beautiful weather Thursday and Friday, sitting outside, shorts, t-shirt, sunshine, December weather, loving it. And now it's back to winter. We're getting crapped on again with cold. It's going to bring in the grossness.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, but you've been weathered to have it. Like, you got your Wisconsin bones, like that you're used to this kind of cold and lovely stuff. I can handle it as long as it's not raining. Like, I'd rather it snow and be cold than like a gross, dreary day. Like, I'd rather it be 20 degrees right now or 15 and be sunny.
Yeah,
like, give me that all day long. Like, just don't give me the doom and gloom of the rain.
Nice little blanket of snow.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care if it's snow. I don't care if it's 5 degrees. As long as it's sunny in 5, I would take that over 40 and rain any day of the week. Just give me some
feels
sunshine.
warmer when it's snow on the ground versus a dank
rain.
a dank.
That sounds
grass.
that sounds like something the kids might say these days. That rain is dank. I'm pretty sure that's even like a slang word. Or I don't want to look it up because I'm afraid that we just offended.
I know.
We just offended a bunch of people. Hopefully we didn't offend any of our new listeners. If it's your first time listening, we appreciate you tuning in. We know you have a lot of options in the triathlon podcast universe and just podcasts in general. So we appreciate you giving us your time. We cover it all. We do race recaps. We do race previews. We do swim, bike, and run in-depth podcasts. Sometimes we'll have on the occasional guest, but for the most part, Mike and I, as coaches, athletes, best friends, and just humans on this planet, trying to figure out, have an open, honest discussion about what we're going through. We work with a wide range of athletes from across the globe, from beginners to elite level amateurs. So oftentimes we can go into training peaks and kind of go through the conversations and day-to-day impact their athletes have and what they're going through for the topic of the discussion. Sometimes we'll go into Facebook. We have a great group in there. You can search that. It's Crushing Iron Group. Answer one simple question, let you in. A lot of awesome people in there. Great conversation, a wide range of abilities. So it's a great community to be a part of, especially this time of year when community can be even harder to find than normal because, like we said, it's gross. There is dank rain and dank snow probably around. So it's hard to get out and feel like you're not doing as many group runs or group rides. And it's hard to get up and get to go to the pool and do a master's workout swim at 5 o'clock in the morning when it's 5 degrees outside. It's just not something that you really want to do right now. So be a part of that great community. But for the most part, Mike and I is, people who have been around the sport for a very long time, made our share of mistakes, had our share of successes, just try to have an open, honest discussion. And hopefully you can avoid some of the pitfalls we've had in the past, learn from it. We are not professionals. We are not experts. We are just seasoned veterans in life and in training and in racing. And if we can give you something today to apply to yourself and allow you to have a more happier and healthier endurance sports journey, then we'll consider this podcast a win.
Yeah, and the more experienced I get, I always say the least I know, or the less I know.
The less you know.
Yeah, so it's like, hey, I was going to ask you, have you made any training mistakes lately?
Lately?
Yeah.
No,
I made one yesterday.
what'd you do?
I went out running.
Why is that a mistake?
Well, I mean,
can you be more specific?
Yeah, because it was that dank day, and by the way, that can mean awesome.
Okay, cool. All right, sweet. I was scared if we looked up, it was going to be something very
quote
offensive.
unquote. It can mean awesome to the max.
Oh, interesting.
Or it can be dreary and
I
rainy.
bet you,
it can be anything. I'm looking in the Urban Dictionary. It can be like anything, depending on who says it. Or
okay, perfect. Because right now, I'm sure, because we've obviously the majority of our listeners are between the ages of 20 to 70, and oftentimes we'll get emails or something like, in the past we've dropped maybe a little bit of an F-bomb here or there, and they're like, we've got kids in the car in the back of the minivan. So I'm sure that if they were, being forced to listen to this, podcast, which alone itself is probably enough misery and punishment for anybody in their teenage years. We said the word dank, there probably some giggling in the background. They're like, how fans they said the word dank. They are hip. They are with it. We're with it. So speaking of being with it, how did you go a little bit too hard, a little bit too long yesterday? Because that's usually your MO.
Yeah, I didn't go too hard, but I went too far.
8 miles?
Double it.
No, you didn't go 16.
Yeah,
did you? What the hell's wrong with you? I mean, well, okay, to be fair, it's December, and we tend to have a little bit of flexibility with these stupid irresponsible decisions. But what are you doing? You haven't ran that long since September. Before that, you hadn't ran that long period, even before Ironman. What are you doing
close run camp.
You haven't run 16 miles. You mean like start to finish, you ran 16.
Yeah, but I did a 1 minute walk, 3 minute run. So it was
where? Greenway?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll allow it.
It wasn't bad.
Still, why?
Well,
it was disgusting yesterday.
That's why. I was like, you're looking at me like,
oh my God. I'm sorry.
It was a beautiful day. I went for a run.
It was disgusting yesterday.
I woke up and, I was kind of, Sunday morning.
Were you in a bad mood?
A little bit of a bad mood.
Okay,
trying to figure out what's going on, trying to, I'm going to clean. No, I'm going to go to Training Peaks. No, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to write. I'm going to whatever. And then I went on the balcony and I looked and it was, we're in this construction zone. Mm-hmm. It was this dank.
That's not awesome.
Not in the awesome sense. And I'm looking out at the, they had that big party on
huge party, 24 in Maine. Yeah.
24 in Maine. So I didn't see it really, but it felt like there's a lot of garbage laying around on the street, after the party and everything.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to feel something. So I'm like, I'm going to just go for a run. I didn't anticipate that. Every once in a while I get that Dean Carnese thing, where it's
to
like,
do something stupid.
Yeah. So I just ran down. I was doing my run walk, and I was feeling really good. And I got up, to 6 miles. I'm like, yeah, just keep going out here. And then I had to turn around.
That's the problem. Is like the
farther you go, really, really, really good. And through mile 11,
and then
it became walking in a drizzle.
Yeah,
but I stayed with it, and I actually felt, pretty decent.
You're not hobbling day or anything.
No. And I think my point on that is, of course, I did do Ironman, and then it's sort of this, and I referred to somebody in Training Peaks yesterday about, because they had a tough week and they missed a week. And I said, well, I've missed about a month and a half, and I just ran 16 miles, and it felt pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So let's not panic, The market's dipping. Let's not panic. Let's just hold on.
Dipping. Let's hold. That's right.
So I just wanted to point that out, and there's nothing to do with anything. It wasn't like a spectacular run, or I wasn't that fast or anything, but it was interesting because I think, sometimes on those longer experiences, you get to, sort of get back in your head and reflect on your form and just, it kind of reminds you of a lot of stuff I just wanted to feel something, because I'd been just noodling around since Ironman, really, other than run camp. And I think it's one of those, it can light a little spark maybe. And since I'm not sore today, really, other than a little bit, but not too bad. I think, hopefully something, good comes out of it. We don't suggest it. I didn't really want to lead with that necessarily, but, sometimes you need a little jolt.
There's nothing wrong with what you did,
man.
Well, there's nothing inherently wrong with what you did. There's nothing wrong, period, about it. Especially like right now. And the way you went about it, at least, was moderately responsible. Like, was the distance probably a little bit too much? But you can't just take distance, it's not an apples to apples thing. It's always about distance and intensity. Like, you probably felt better. You probably feel better today having done a run, walk 16 miles, right? Than had you gone out and ran 8 miles as hard as you probably could, trying to break your 10K record. Something like that. You'd probably be destroyed today. Like, you'd probably be like 100%. Super sore. So again, like, it's not, everyone always feels like, the distance is the ultimate like degrading factor in how you're going to feel and what's too much and what's most oftentimes it's when athletes go too hard, because when you go slow enough, you at least have a chance for your body to recognize when things are going poorly, and you can kind of get ahead of what might be an epic blow up. And instead of you shooting me a text on the Greenway and being like, hey, dude, I made a huge mistake. Can you come pick me up and take me home?
I'm at Burger King.
I'm at Burger King. Can you help brother out? You were able to make it back, right? And that's like, we've talked about this before when people talk about heat acclimation and how you have to take care of yourself in the heat in the summertime, that athletes are more likely to have a heat stroke or a heat-related illness in a 5K or a 10K than they are a half marathon and a marathon. And people think that's like, oh, wait a minute, you're out there longer. But the reason is because you are in a 5K and a 10K, you're going basically all out from the gun. And your body temp rises so quickly that the effects of that get on you so quick because you're going so hard, and you don't have time for all the signals to it's kind of like we talked about a few weeks ago. When you eat so fast, you've already overeaten by a lot by the time your stomach has, your mind has, like, you're full. You've gone way past the point. That's why in 5Ks and 10Ks, those things can happen more often than a half marathon or a full, because it gets on you so quick. There's nothing to do. It's over. Like, you have no time. But like what you did, again, it wasn't irresponsible. And again, like, you see, the distance sounds like, oh, that must have been terrible. But if you go back and probably look at it, you probably average 13:20s or 13:30, something like that. So for you, it's really not that bad of a pace. If you're doing like a walk run in the rain, that's, a minute 45 faster than if you would have just walked 16 miles. Which, if you'd have told me, that'd have been like, that's really nothing. Like, big deal. It's like a day at Disney World or like at a theme park. But I think doing stuff like that is even during the season isn't bad, because especially if it gives you time to kind of get away from everything else and kind of disconnect. Wait, and this is not where I wanted to go in today's podcast, but we'll see where we go. That was like having like finals exams and a big job interview and this week. And I was like, talking about how stressed she is. And I said, just shelve all the workouts for this week. Go take a walk, at least commit to that 15 to 20 minute, which we suggest all the time, 15 to 20, 30 minutes a day, no phone, just unwind and let your mind relax. Because sometimes we get so close to life with how much stress is going on. You got the holidays, you've got, job stress and situations, you've got relationship situations, you got your kids are struggling, maybe you're, not figuring out what you're going to do. Like, it's just, people tend to like think a lot this time of year because certain parts of life slow down, like, as in most of you aren't training enough. So you have like a lot more time to think, which is sometimes a bad thing. It's like when people start to taper, they have way too much time on their hands. They've been doing like 15, 16 hours a week. They go down to 8 and they're like, what am I going to do with my free time? All right. Right now, it's not like you can go to the beach or go to the pool or do a lot of things with your friends because it's usually so cold and dreary. So you're just left with your thoughts. And like you were doing, last night you went to the balcony, you looked out after you had basically, all right, I'm maybe a right. Maybe I'll do this. Or I'm kind of in a funk. It's like sometimes you just need to step away, right, from all the noise. We can be so close to life and our own life and all the problems that we think we might have, or the stresses that we do have, the obstacles on the way, or what's coming down the road that we're thinking about or obsessing about. That sometimes we just need to get away from it. And so I thought what you did was a great option to do versus sitting there and stewing or just not figuring it. So you went out, you did something, you moved. You no doubtly felt better when you got back, right? And you're probably feel much more fulfilled having done that versus just sitting around your couch feeling more miserable and grumpy about God knows what.
Yeah, 100%. I like what you said there about the walking around Disneyland, because to me, I'm not a really good walker. If there's a place to do it or whatever, but I don't like to walk around this neighborhood or whatever. It's just that's why I like that walk around that I do sometimes, because it felt like I was going out for a walk in a way, because it breaks it up so nicely to me. And the reason I like it is because, ended up, running for, 3 hours almost, or technically, but, a quarter of that was walking, so it was really this mixture of what I like to even say is like, when people don't feel like running, just go out and walk and see what happens, put on your running shoes and everything. And just, you might get in the groove. And if you bounce it around a little bit, you walk a little, run. It takes, for me to, like, if I would have decided to go out and run whatever, even 15 miles or whatever, and wasn't going to walk any of it, I never would have done it. It would have been a forget this.
Yep.
But I like the idea of having all these little mini finish lines throughout the day. And for me, it's like, I like it because it in theory, that would have been maybe like a 12-mile-ish run versus 16. And you get, some more time on your feet and you mix it in rather than, because the thought about walking that far and spending 3 hours walking or something would have been super boring to me. But it just added another element, and just put on some music and enjoy.
You gave yourself
getting lost.
Yeah, you gave yourself positive options and great opportunities for it to be successful, right? You can go out and think, all right, you know what I need to do today? I'm in a grumpy mood. Stuff just pissed me off.
I'm going to go hurt myself.
Yes, exactly. I'm going to go, you know what? I need to turn this day around by running the fastest 10K I can and just kind of see where I'm at. And that's what 95% of most athletes do. They go out and they do something just totally idiotic and irresponsible in search of an answer or filling a cup or a void or, seeking something total opposite in the spectrum to meet them halfway to where they really want to be. And you're like, no, just... instead of give yourself time to like work through it productively instead of smashing yourself in the ground, because then the next day you'd have been smoked, right? And so instead you just chose to be responsible about it, which no, I wouldn't say you made a mistake in training at all. I would say I wouldn't even consider that day was training. I would say that was more like, mental health, movement, medicine, just kind of like getting your body back moving again, which is a great thing, because when you walk like that or do a run walk like that, it's more about like when you walk, it's more about active recovery and feeling really good and energized when you're done. And it's a great long endurance, fat burning day where you're just kind of on your feet enjoying, life. Even though it was raining, like you get out and did something versus sitting on your couch all day on a gross day when it was disgusting, and you'd have felt worse and probably more antsy and agitated today had you not done that yesterday.
Yeah.
So kudos to you, man.
Thank you. Yeah. Props. Getting out in the elements, it's just so much different to take that step, I think, even into a crappy day like that. And it is funny though, when you get out into that, and that's what I love about this sport, I think, is those times when you can kind of just, it really brings you into that moment, and as you're running out there wasn't many people obviously out there. And I just kind of was in this weird little space, and I just tried to stay in that weird little space, and it held on for a really long time. And then when I kind of got back close to home, I was like, oh boy, got to run past all the restaurants and the shops, and they're going to see, you see your reflection in the mirror.
You're like, man, I look rough. It's rough.
Yeah. It's like, this guy, man, there he goes.
Yeah. But they're like, didn't we see him leave like an hour and 2 hours,
That's kind of what
hours ago? And you're like, yeah, you'd be that tough guy. Speaking of tough,
nobody cares about that.
Nobody cares about that. Speaking of tough, I want to talk briefly about CLASH endurance. Yeah. I was anxious to hear, obviously last year it was called Challenge Daytona. It was the race of the year. It was the biggest race of the year it was the deepest age group field I'd ever seen in any race outside of World Championships. It was basically the only race that existed outside of Ironman Florida. It was pro heavy. It was age group heavy. They put on an unbelievable display. The coverage was great. It was just action packed. So I was interested to see kind of what happened and how things were going to go.
Yeah, that's the first thing I asked you.
On Saturday. So I totally forgot it was even happening, because there really wasn't much buzz about it. Like when it was, so basically what happened was Challenge family is a huge, basically out of North America, they are it. Like they're bigger than Ironman in over in parts of Europe. They are the thing. And when you hear Challenge, you think Challenge Roth was one of the most famous, iconic races on the planet. And so I guess last year, after this huge success that Challenge Daytona was, you're like, what'd be a great idea? Like things like, last week I was joking about how, I feel generally like an immature adult, but when I go to a high school football game, I feel pretty damn, wise and mature.
Just pick your spots.
Well, we're definitely not the most fantastic businessmen. But boy, I tell you what, when you hear and read stuff like this, I'm like, we got it going on. Like we know what we're doing. So they do Challenge Daytona. They explode this, like, we're going to have Challenge Miami next year. We're going to do all these, race and regulations. So, we're going to change our name. You're like, what? Why? You just created brand recognition with Challenge Daytona. It's a great thing. We're going to disconnect from Challenge, basically the Challenge family. We're going to create our own kind of North American brand. We're going to take away Challenge, and we're going to rename it CLASH. What the actual, what? Like, we talked about it when it happened. We're like, makes absolutely zero sense for them to do. And so they did that. They went back to it, and they called it CLASH Daytona. They had a watered down, very poor pro turnout, which, if you think about it, is expected because this has been a normal year. We've had a bunch of races. Ironman still rules the roost. There was a much better field, not much better, but at an equally but more exciting field on probably a more exciting course out in Indian Wells. And I dropped the $2.99 as it was suggested by Mark Hagan. And now, Mark, you owe me $3 because it was and honestly about 20 more because it was a total waste of my time. It was the most boring coverage I've ever watched of an event.
Wow.
And while last year, I think, and again, it's just a great example of when you get lightning in a bottle, you better keep it or don't plan on it ever happening again, because I think they put their eggs in too much basket. From every athlete that I've talked to, we had a bunch of athletes do it because it was such a great experience last year. They all said unequivocally, without a doubt, not even close to the same experience last year, and they won't be coming back. That they did a lot away with a lot of the perks, a lot of the age group things. Age groupers are what make raises money. Pros make you lose money. Like, and I think last year you were talking before. I think they made you pay $3 watching on Facebook. Last year was televised, right? It was actually on TV last year, where you didn't have to pay, or you could watch online and then tip like whatever amount you wanted to. And I was like, I wouldn't have tipped. I would have asked to speak to the manager. Like, that was how boring the coverage was, and the races were boring. It wasn't even close. Just don't like. And I think next year they're having like Clash Miami and Clash Atlanta, and then I think another Clash somewhere, like maybe I think Indianapolis, maybe. And I 2 years they'll be gone. They'll be gone in 2 years, easily. They'll be gone, wow. And that's my call. It's same thing happened when Challenge tried to buy Rev 3, and that went out the window. Like, it's just, and then hits. Like, it just. Pick one thing and do it right. We always said way back in the day, and we discussed this on like one of the first like 20 podcasts we ever did, I think. Yeah. Rev 3's biggest mistake was they tried to compete with Ironman. They tried to compete at the Ironman at 70.3 distance, which is a whole lot more money. You got to pay pros to come do those, instead of being like, you know what? We're going to produce the best age group type races at Sprint and Olympic, and maybe do some fun things. We don't want to compete with them. We recognize we can't. That'd be like you and I trying to compete with like Rich Roll or Joe Rogan. Like, no thanks. Like, I would much rather compete in a very small pool and feel like I'm doing something right than trying to, compete with the big guns, and which forces you to make bad decisions that aren't really who you are. And so again, I think at least, and I'm sure some athletes, this was their first experience doing it, so they probably don't have anything to kind of go by. Flat, fast, got a little bit warmer than what I heard. So that race was kind of from a spectator standpoint. I wish there was coverage of Indian Wells 70.3, because you had Lionel Sanders, you had Luis, I think his last name is Vargas, an ITU guy who got hit by a car. Okay, he led. Whoa. And you're seeing a lot. Next year is going to be the most exciting year of racing we've ever seen. If you follow any professional athletes at all, next year is going to be in my opinion, without a doubt, the most exciting year, because it's no longer an Olympic year. They just had it. So what you're going to see is you're going to see a bunch of ITU level athletes. Vincent Luis was his name. There's another Luis Varga. That's a ITU guy too. But Vincent Luis, he led out of the swim. He swam 1.2 in 22 minutes. Okay, that's a 109 pace for you guys following at home. So I was tracking it with a couple other athletes, and we were kind of going back and forth. And he came off the bike with Lionel Sanders. I was like, man, I kind of figured he would maybe stay up there, and probably I actually thought he was going to just win wire to wire. He got hit by a car. Okay.
Holy crap.
On the bike, it's not funny. First of all, how you get hit by a car in a race course, but he get hit by a car because there were reports of this thread I was reading that he had like road rash on his face and his side as he's running 5+ minute miles in a 70.3. Coming off the bike, I was like, how did he get caught? That's why he got hit by a car and somehow got off and ended up still doing a 3:41 70.3 after being hit by a car. The other guy, last name is Gaines, who I think is actually Luis's training partner, or the guy who trains them, was served a 5-minute penalty and did a 3:42. Did a 3:42 overall, and I believe he had the fastest the run of the day with a very mediocre 1:08 half marathon after serving a 5-minute penalty. And one thing, and then I'll quit talking about pros and get into what I really want to talk about today. But if you're an American or just a fan of pro triathletes in general, start following the name Trevor Foley. He is an American. I believe he ran cross country at Florida. Has only been doing triathlon for about a year and a half. He came in 5th, I believe, yesterday with a 1:09:55 half marathon. People were all like, who is this Trevor Foley guy? He absolutely ran people down. So once he gets the rest of the stuff figured out, he's going to be... Anyway, it was an exciting weekend there. I wish that was televised. It wasn't. But it's just, the level is going to keep rising. So next year, when you have everybody coming together in May for the quote-unquote 2021 Ironman World Championships, which are in St. George, then it's a year of 3 championships. And that's basically what everyone's going to be gunning for. You got, again, May, St. George, Ironman World Championships basically from this last year. Then you're going to have Kona in October, a 2-day event for the first time ever in Kona. And then about a month later going to have 70.3 Worlds back in St. George. Back in St. George. It's going to be absolutely nuts this next year. And again, just because of it not being an Olympic year, those ITU guys that can compete at 70.3s, there's going to be fireworks. I can't wait to watch it. And Clash, best of luck to you, Clash.
I don't know what to do about that. I mean,
yeah, that's where I want to go today. But we don't talk a lot about. But I wanted to go with somebody who participated in Clash. But we'll get there in a minute. But yeah, we don't talk. We're not like the pro. We don't interview pros for our podcast. Which
we were going to change our name, right? We changed it, or the podcast in that particular podcast that we decided we wanted to change our name.
Iron.
Clashing Iron. How about just something like human optimization for the metaverse? That way we can get up with Rich Roll and those guys. Yeah. Human optimization for the metaverse. Welcome.
Meta Iron. Meta Iron. So what cars us now. But no, what I wanted to talk about today, now that we're 26 minutes in, is this weekend you had a bunch of athletes racing. We had athletes everywhere. We had 70.3s in Florida. We had an athlete doing Ironman Australia. We had people running doing Indian Wells in California, then the CIM, which is the big marathon in California this last weekend. It was an insanely gratifying weekend for all of us coaches, but also for me. It's because it was one of those weekends where you got to watch a lot of athletes get a lot of monkeys off their back. And and I know you appreciate this so much as much as I do, while it's so fun and exciting and invigorating and you get pumped to watch athletes that have had pretty standard buildups, there's nothing out of the ordinary, or they've been on a solid trajectory of PRs or improvement. They're generally happy. There is nothing like helping an athlete in a journey to either finish their first whatever race it is after, having missed opportunities, or DNFs, or athletes get that monkey off their back from a PR that they haven't been able to shed for like 6, 7, 8, 9 years. Mm-hmm. To me, and we talked about this and touched on just a little bit in the last podcast when I kind of went on my mini rant about stop using age as your as an excuse. And I guess I just wanted to talk about the mindset of being resilient, in that never give up, or it's never too late, or I'm never too old, or I'm never too hurt, or gone through too many injuries to give up on the commitment and the process of just trying to freaking get better, because you don't ever know what is going to happen. And I had 3 specific, results or races and athletes that kind of went down this last week. And one, first and foremost, was Keith Bates, he lives fairly close to here, but he's an athlete we worked with for about 2 years. He is an unbelievable human being. At 66 years old, had DNF'd, I think, 2 or 3 70.3s, and got it done yesterday at CLASH Daytona, finishing his first one. And I can't tell you how great it is to watch athletes, especially at that age, when most people are thinking, why are you even doing this?
Right.
Why are you using your extra time to do this? You've already had a few races where things didn't go well, and you didn't finish. What do you keep going back for? You're not going to win any awards. You're not going to break any time barriers. You're not going to do this. Why are you doing this? And I just think it's an incredibly important thing to touch on it and to bring up, because we often, people always talk about great lead ups and the great performances and things have to go right for them, but they don't always happen. And so I think it's a really great thing to celebrate those. And Keith, massive shout out to you, because especially as you get older, all you really do hear are the excuses, right? You don't hear you're too old for this, right? Or you need to stop doing that. You go to the doctor, you have one sort of need, you need to stop running. It's bad for your body. Mm-hmm. You're like, no, because what we do, especially as we hit our 40s, 50s, and 60s, it's not just about what it does to our body, but but it can improve physical. It's about what it does for your mind and your heart to be able to live, to be committed to continuing to live instead of accepting that you're just becoming part of the dying process. Really, you're just going to be fading out into oblivion until you resting out your final days doing God knows what, sitting in the recliner watching Family Feud and The Price is Right all day long and complaining about the weather to your buddies, or Jenny Jones from down the street who didn't pick up her trash that one day. And then you have athletes like another athlete we had that did California beat her marathon time from 8 years ago, which is like one of those things, like once you get past like a year or 2 or 3 years of like not hitting a PR in an event, and you're like, am I ever going to like get back to that again? Because again, you're getting older. No matter what age you are, you're still getting older, and you think, how is my time around? Am I ever going to get back to that again? Am I ever going to be able to beat that time again? And to see and hear from like how incredibly excited and pumped, like it's like you get a shine back, like get that kind of that glimmer of hope back in your mind and your heart and in your training. It's like, you know what, I'm not done yet. Like even though I've gotten older, I'm not quite done. No matter, because that's the thing. No matter what we subscribe to in terms of life and who our friends are and social media, we provide opportunities for basically every avenue and aspect of life to give us their unsolicited advice. You got friends, you got a family, you got coworkers. You read on social media that you shouldn't be doing this, or you can't do this, you got to do this. You got doctors that are like, hey, you won't be able to do this. We had an athlete, who ran in Wisconsin who had major hip surgery in March. Was out for 3 months. And wasn't sure like if running or racing this year was even going to kind of be even like on the table of any aspect. And she goes out in Milwaukee, a place that you love, and busts out a sub, a 1:30 half marathon for 4th overall. When you're like, why are you even? When about 3 months ago you're like, why are you running again? You're not supposed to be running. And I think it's a good time of year, I think, to dive into, going back to what you did yesterday, to dive into the mindset that is, this really is only this. If I want to improve, if I want to be successful, and I don't want to give up, it really only is up to me. It's not up to anybody else. It's not really up to your coach. It's not up to your family. It's not up to your friends. It's not up to what you read. It's not up to anything else. If you want to be successful and you don't want to give up, that responsibility solely lies on your shoulders of just basically refusing to give up, refusing to give in, and thinking, you know what, you and I both sit here, basically once a week at least, and think, we're not done yet. We still got more to give. We still got more to go. I think I can do this. That is a mentality that, while I believe it can be taught, is mostly inherent. You just either have that or you don't, but it can be taught as long as you work at it. And right now, this time of year is a time to work at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're hitting on a sweet spot issue for me, as you know.
I know.
It's like, bring it on, man. You're right, man. So many people, like, first of all, we're bombarded, and we've talked about the media and the news and stuff. And I always say, just turn it off, because they are trying to, like, commit you to that aging process, to that sickness, to that whatever it is. And it really gets in your head. It's like a mind virus in my mind. And I've for so many years have felt like exactly like what you've been talking about, where we put these limiters on ourselves, but it's not our own limit. I think most of us believe that we can do certain things, but it's just so hard to get past all the chatter and the unsolicited advice, like you're saying, and to do things that in your mind are amazing. And I've always just felt like you can push your body. I mean, I think we're barely scratching the surface. If you take that big picture look, a lot of us get in this, oh man, my knee's sore today or whatever. But if you look over time, and it's back to that Roger Bannister thing, breaking the mile, and then everybody breaks the mile. It's sort of like you just need your own breakthroughs, or you need to look at the big picture. And today might look a little bleak, but like, look at everything and that whole ramp up to your potential in the life. And it's just just take a step back and be like, wait a minute, I don't feel old. Everybody's telling me I feel old. And I talked about last week is like, 30, 40 years ago when my grandpa Vita came up and said, you know what, I'm doing an Ironman. And I'd look at him like, what? But things are different, you know, and I'm so grateful for that, because I think I've internally always sort of felt that way. Like, I don't want to believe what all these people are trying to say. You know, I don't want to just go down this road blindly, because so many people do it. You know, it's like, I can't do that. I can't. Sure, you can. Just get up and go move it. And movement is medicine. And we get trapped into, like you're saying, sitting around and watching mindless crap. And I've always done it too. I mean, we all do it. We all need a little bit of an escape to watch some mindless crap. But it does take something inside. You have to dig it out yourself, I think, you know. And the big thing about, like, one of the things I noticed yesterday was that, you know, throughout that run, there was things that hurt, you know, but they're not, you know, I feel like you got to go through some of that pain, you know, sometimes, and you just play it smart. Obviously you don't want to, like, have an injury and that kind of thing. But I just think we get so locked down because of little niggles, you know, that are just part of maybe the healing process sometimes. And there's, you know, like, take care of yourself in other ways after the run. You know, like I did an Epsom salt bath right away. And by the way, I did something what I found very, you know, I'm a cold shower guy.
Oh, I know.
But what I did was I took that Epsom nice and hot, and, you know, it feels good. Most people be okay with that, right? Just sitting there, soaking in the tub. And then I turned on the cold water in the tub.
Crazy, man.
But it was a really nice way to transition into it, because it's sort of that sauna meets cold water, but you're in the hot tub and you're just kind of laying there back with that cold water hitting you, and it felt amazing. And I don't know if that, I think it did help, you know, but I feel pretty good today or whatever. And so you're right. I think you need to get that mindset straight and not go down those roads of believe in people who are telling you you can't do something.
It's my biggest pet peeves is because one of them, like, especially with friends and family, because the people, listen,
yeah, man,
we always gravitate towards the people, like, who will support what we're doing, or most importantly, what we're choosing not to do, right? Because you always get support with your excuses for most people. Like, oh, you know what? Don't need to do that. Like, just, you know, because guess who's not doing it? Them, right? Yeah. Like, because
people want to drag you into
people want to drag you into their toxic. Like, you see it all the time, especially with toxic people or people who just gossip incessantly. You're like, I'll just drag you in, and they're like, I don't want to hear this. You're like, but they want you to, because they want you to be part of how they're choosing to live life. Like, everyone wants you to be part of their reality because it reinforces their, you know, that they're happy with it. Plow your own path, and just don't, frankly, just don't give a shit who comes along the way. If you get people that support you and that push you and that can be like, all right, you know what? You need to get off your ass today. You need to go do something. Get up, get to work, do something that's and stop sitting on your butt and feeling sorry for yourself. But what most of them is, you know, just, you know, take as much, you know, you need. It's okay to feel sorry for yourself today. You know, just, you know, go eat some Wendy's and have a few beers, and because that's what we're doing. Is that going to make you feel better? No. But I'll tell you, it's hard to find those people, those true friends or even coaches that matter. It's like, you know what? No, that's not acceptable, right? You need to tell you what you need to hear or when you need to hear it. Obviously, we all need time off here and there, but your journey is yours. And if you're putting so much stock or motivation or looking for, you know, affirmation from people or in areas that are more concerned with, you know, you not contradicting their current style of thinking, then good luck being as successful as you want to be. Surround yourself with people who think the same. They don't have to believe the same, because we should also believe different things, but it's like who are going to be unwavering in their support and their commitment to just trying to get better, to not being lazy, to not settling, to still trying to figure things out, still learning, still growing, not done yet. And most people are just, they sit and they sulk and they, woe is me, life is this and life is so terrible, and everything is, you know, gloomy and crappy, and you know, come on, join the gloomy, crappy club, because it makes us feel better about our mentality of life when all we see is doom and gloom. Don't you want to be a part of that? Come on and join us, right? We can just make excuses and blame the society and the world for our thoughts and feelings 24 hours a day. Get out of it, right? And this is the time of year where those types of groups and those types of people recruit for the entire year because there's not much to do. It's gross outside. It feels like there's not as much sunshine. This is when you can you find yourself gravitating either to like, you know what? I just might need to go this alone, right? It's like, I just might need to forge this path and, put my blinders on, and I'll find some people along the way, like to pluck here and there, to pluck there. I've talked a lot, in the past, and, even currently, is about sometimes you just need to thin out the herd, right? You need to hunker down and really, close your circle into maybe just a couple people, because it's better to have a couple supportive, true, authentic, purposeful people in your life than 40 friends, quote unquote, who really just don't give a shit, who are more concerned with you complementing their agenda in life than, you and I know this just because of how things were when we were, before I got sober, we were hanging around with who we were hanging around. It was like, all we did was just, gossip and talk shit and, talk about triathlon and drink 20 beers a night. Mm-hmm. And you're like, it's no one, like no one was like an outside of that. It was like, we were all kind of the same because, we don't want anything different because then it'll make us feel bad, right? It's like kind of like it'll make us feel uncomfortable. It's okay to feel uncomfortable if everyone else is toxic or not pushing you in the right direction or telling you that you can't do something. Sometimes just turn it off and be like, you know what? Throw the middle fingers up. Be like, you know what? Not done yet. Here I go.
Yeah. Because then you push out and you do things that make you feel better, right? And then that opens up another world. Like what you said about how we used to hang around and drink all night and talk, and then we would, kind of get back together and do the same thing. And then sort of that thing kind of just naturally is going to have to start dying. If you kind of got to pick one road or the other sort of thing. But that's the thing I think that is tricky for people sometimes is like that's all we talked about was triathlon. I mean, kind of all we talked about. No, not really. But you know what I mean? It's like you have to have a balance in that, which I think is interesting because that new discovery and that triathlon talk and being in that sect can really motivate you for a while, but then you have to be able to balance again, right? It's like this continual growth pattern. Mm-hmm. Whereas, okay, I am in triathlon and that's a big part of my life, but also I don't want to give up on the other things that I want to do. I still want to be my own person in these other worlds. And I think that's just such a huge place, to get to as well, because, it's got to be about what's inside you, and you can't like use triathlon as sort of a drug either. So, but I do think that it's for me now that the more I've been in it, the more I like to think of it as sort of like, if we call it a drug, it's sort of like the one that gets me going, and then you can get into other things, because it's a health thing more than anything. It's try to be happy and healthy like I did yesterday. That was more about my mind than anything else. And I started thinking about it halfway through that run. I'm like, okay, now I'm feeling a little more level here, and I'm feeling a little more satisfied with everything. And then when you get back, and then, oddly enough, I came back and I rearranged my apartment, that kind of stuff.
Oh, did you now?
Oh yeah.
I'll just go check it out.
Yeah, it isn't all that, but it was just bothering me. I kept looking at it and I'm like, I don't even know what to do. But when I got back, I knew what to do. So that's the thing about getting up and pushing and it's like how difficult I mean, I've thought about this a million times. You get out of bed in the morning, and even if you slept good, it's never easy, getting out of bed, it seems like for me. But it's like that you got to keep pushing. And that push is what gets you to the, it's like my sister always, get up and move around, you'll feel better. And she's like getting up at 4:30.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
It's and a lot of people are starting to think about where they want to go in 2022, what they want to do, what races they're coming, be careful who you choose, right? Because I think that's something that we've become like fooled into, that we all need to invite everyone on our journey. Everyone needs to know. Everyone should be invited. Come along for the ride on Facebook and Instagram and every social media app. Come on, come all, join me on my journey. When 90% of them, you probably don't even know why you're friends with them. You're just kind of friends with them on Facebook. You get likes and you get hearts and you get comments. You're like, who is that again? No, it's Joe's friend from the Chamber of Commerce's buddy. Like, I don't even know him. But you start to look for the dopamine rush that is likes and stuff like that, when what you really just need is a couple people that'll like really actually have conversations with you about what you're doing and generally ask like, hey, how's it going? How are you really feeling? be careful who you choose. Don't feel the need to tell every single person. It's like, but no one does. It's like, we got a bunch of people who are going to go out and drink one night. Are they going to invite the alcoholic? Probably not. Are they going to go out to lunch? They're probably going to invite me, or go to coffee, or it's like, if they're athletes that do like, these 50-mile, 100, 200-mile races, and they need people to be on their crew, and they need pacers. Are you going to invite someone who's going to be discouraging and tell you to quit and tell you to give up and all excuses are fine? No, you're going to find people that you feel like are genuinely have your best interest in heart. And if your goal is your goal and that is your best interest, then they're going to make sure and they're going to see to it that you finish. So when you think about your year and you think about who you're trying to put in who you're trying to choose to bring in your inner circle, or just create your own 3 to 4 person inner circle of people. They're the only ones that need to know, because 3 or 4 close friends or close supporters, or, if it's your coach or physio and, maybe your spouse or, whoever it is, like, that's really all that matters, because those are the ones that are going to say the things that matter and do the things that matter to get you where you want to go. But like we said a few minutes ago, ultimately, it's up to you. Like, you have to have the mindset of, I have to be unwavering and focused in this is my challenge. This is my goal for this year. This is my focus. This is what I want to achieve. Excuses don't apply.
Yeah.
Right. Excuses don't apply, because as you get closer and closer and closer, excuses just rise to the top. More people find excuses to bail the last 2 months before a race than they do the first 2 months they signed up for the race. Like, this year, everyone is optimistic. Everyone can shoot for the stars. But then as we get closer, as the year gets heavier, the excuses start to rise to the top, and everyone else is doing the same thing. Excuses rise to the top, and you'll have more fandom when you make excuses than probably when you don't.
Yeah, I mean, excuses can be comforting. I mean, it's sort of like a soothing thing and I do think, opening up and being honest about that, like, hey man, I was just down, or whatever. I think that's a good thing. But I also think the last 2 years or whatever it's been a sort of a buffet for excuses. It's been very difficult for everyone, because it's sort of like, that's okay. You don't have to work today or whatever. It's just been building that excuse making machine in all of us, I feel like. So I have to kind of, grab myself every once in a while and shake it up, because it's like so easy. Well, everybody's doing this now. I mean, everybody's not working. Everybody's taking a day off. Everybody's, not feeling good. Everybody's this, we have a million excuses, and it's sort of become even more mainstream, if that's possible, and acceptable, and, oh, that's okay. You don't have to, do that or whatever. And I think it's important to acknowledge that it becomes easier and easier if we kind of go down that path. So I think really that's what I do sometimes, is I when I feel myself getting in that place, I'm like, you got to wake it up, dude. You got to push into the life and push into some pain and feel some things and realize that, there's no worse pain than feeling nothing.
And the fact that and I agree, that I agree with you in that, is that excuses have become like applauded for so many things. But and what happens is, and we had somebody that commented in our Facebook group earlier in our last podcast was about, great is the enemy of good, is that we also have so many people in society now that basically everything you do is a pass or fail. You have to be great or you're terrible, right? There is no like middle ground. Like you and I for most things, we hang out kind of in the gray. Like, we're not staunchly one way or staunch. It's like we kind of hang out in the gray for the most part. And that's more helpful in finding your way to just find a way. Because guess what? Your 45-minute run doesn't have to be perfect, because that's also the mentality that feeds into the excuse of, well, if I can't do it right, I just won't do it at all. And so you combine the fact that in the last, we've been applauded for not doing this or not doing that, and not, and excuses. In a lot of ways, you combine that with the type A and perfectionist mentality that so many people do. And that's why you find so many people not doing anything, because you're probably getting a pat on the back for it, but you're also probably have that, well, I can't do it perfectly right now. Life's not perfectly lined up. I don't have all my ducks in a row. I can't do this. So I'm just going to wait. And I'm going to wait. And I'm going to wait till it's perfect. And then I'm going to try and do it. Well, guess what? It ain't ever going to be perfect, man.
Right.
It is literally never The best thing you can do is just get your shoes on and get your ass out the door and find a way to get something done today, because that's your choice. And the more you can do that, the more you're going to be willing. We talk about this frequently when the 20 to 25 minute runs, like, what's the point? Like, if you can't find the time to do 20, how are you going to find time to do 40 or 30 or another 55? Find the time, make the time. It's a conscious choice. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if you look at things in that pass or fail mentality, or the great, or it has to be great, or it's not good enough, so that's why I even do it, then you're literally never going to get anything done. So you're right. You won't ever be great because you're not doing anything at all. And just get your ass out the door this time of year. It's telling you, we mentioned this, I think maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, with seasonal depression and just the general time of year it is a dangerous time of year for people to get into very, very, very negative, harming patterns and I'm not talking about triathlon training here. I'm talking about in life,
right?
Where you become isolated and secluded, and you look outside on a day like today, and you're like, "What a effing day!" Like it's just depressing, right? We already have athletes that live in Minnesota, Michigan, and these places where it's like cold and wet and freezing all the time. They're like, it's already kind of getting to me a little bit, like. It's only been like a month, right? It's like, you got about 2 more months of it, 3 more months of it for some areas. Be very specific and focused on doing those small things that no matter what anyone says, or no matter what, just don't make the excuse. Find the reason to do it, not the reason not to do it. Because what happens is the more times in a row you can convince and make yourself do it, the more likely you are to keep it. And then the more likely you are to, even if you miss one day, to get right back on the horse and do it again, because you didn't break the great streak. You just kept going, right? I ran for 100 days in a row and now I'm done. I'm not going to work out for 4 months. Well, that 100 days was basically useless because you're going to be less fit than before if you just committed to being good, doing what's good enough instead of expecting greatness in every single thing that you do. It's just honestly, I've been there before. It's a miserable way to live, to feel like everything you do has to be done up to snuff. It all has to be perfect, or it's just not going to be good enough. There is no, like, people who applaud themselves for being perfectionists, and then you're not being a perfectionist, or calling yourself a perfectionist in my eyes is calling yourself a committed constant failure, because you're never going to succeed. If you're a perfectionist, you feel like everything has to be perfect and nothing is. So you're basically just admitting that I'm committed to doing as many things in life and stressing and expecting everything to go perfectly, while I know in my heart I'll always consider it never good enough. And that sounds like a miserable way to live.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's why you need people around you that are going to be accepting of that as well, because the thing we have is that we know. I mean, every time we do a podcast, we don't know what the heck we're going to, it's like if we were afraid, if we wanted it to be perfect, we would never do it. And to me, I think that's the reason why we keep doing it, is because we accept the fact that, like, hey, we're just going to learn and figure it out as we go a lot of times. And I was talking to my buddy he actually bought some land up in northern Wisconsin. He has a cottage already next to it, and he wants to build a nicer one or whatever. He's had it for 30 years or something. And he's been waiting to build it. And he told me the other night, he's like, I don't know why I keep waiting. I'm trying to make sure everything's perfect. All the ducks are in the row before I even start. And I was like, dude, you just got to start. You got to figure out where to go. And he's totally agreement, because he's getting older. He goes, man, that's what I want to do, is I want to have that place. And the more I wait, the less time I have with it. So what's the point? He goes, I got the money. I'm just trying to optimize. I used to talk about premature optimization a lot. It's sort of like we get an idea and then we're like, all right, let's make it perfect before we even do anything. And then it never comes. You can never make it perfect, and you never do it.
Because you're afraid to try it. And if you try it and it's not perfect, then what have you been doing?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like,
we never have that problem.
Put yourself in a situation where, that's why I think it's important to do some little races or do things that kind of that put you in there. It's just like, you got to go do it. And if it's not going to be something that ideally what you want, or, whatever, it just kind of motivates you sometimes, or just, I don't know what that is, but I think we need to kind of trick our minds sometimes just to go and not worry about it. I mean, like, who cares?
That's why people have so much fun when they hop out and do like a random trail race or a mountain bike race or a gravel ride or something, because they don't have a metric or an expectation to compare it to. So all they do is go out and have fun. And they're like, God, that was such a good time.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only time that mattered, was the fact that it was a good time. It wasn't, well, I'm like, no, but compared to 2017, similar course, I was 35 seconds, slower, even though the terrain was different. I'm like, why? I can feel you sucking the joy out. My eyes are getting red. Like, enjoy it. Like, I swear, like it is amazing still to me as a coach. Like, when you read through the things that people accomplish and do, that sometimes that we can still find a way. And I don't say, like, I'm not saying like being ungrateful is in like a negative way. Just we have such a committed ability to not find the positive in so many things that we're able to do, that we're capable of doing. Like, where we live and what we have the freedom to do and the ability to do, and the jobs that we have and the friends that we have, or family. It's like, the ability to be healthy. That's the biggest thing, like, you should give thanks to and be grateful for, is just your overall effing health in general, no matter what's going on, that you have the ability to do things. Because there's not a day that goes by that I'm not driving around, or I go to the car pickup line, or walking on the street, and I look, and you see someone who's, no matter what shape or size, and you're like, they're huffing and puffing to go do like a random thing, and like to just walk up the stairs, and you're like, God, I am so grateful that I can just go out and run for 30 and 40 minutes and feel energized, and like it gave something to my day, not that I feel wrecked. And if you can, and that's also a great way to spin the way of not finding an excuse, because it's not about perfection. It's not about the ultimate pursuit of the perfect performance, and it has to be this. It's about growth. It's about enjoying life. It's about feeling better and living. It's not about, because again, going back to and joking about the people, it's going to be perfect before we do it. It's never going to be perfect, ever. And the longer you wait, or the people, you know what, I think I'm just going to wait till January. Yeah. And January sounds like. So you think it's going to be easier to start in January by being a lazy sack for 2 months? No,
but that's all getting your mind straight. That's what I think it is. But like, give me a few weeks to get my mind back in the game.
Right, and by sitting.
But that's my point. Is
on
the motion
couch. Right?
Put my mind back in the game yesterday.
Right. It's like, so you're telling me sitting on the couch doing nothing but eating, cheese curds, cupcakes, and craft beer for 2 months is going to get your mind right? No. It's going to make you feel like trash. Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with, getting out and celebrating, because I celebrate just as hard as everybody else. I don't use alcohol, but I use cookies, cupcakes, anything else to get my hands on when I celebrate.
Yeah.
But
it's that bottom.
But it makes you feel terrible, right? It makes you feel awful the next day. It's not easier to work out on the Monday, because you usually feel worse because you celebrated your procrastination by putting it off on Monday so hard with whatever you did, by being lazy or sedentary, eating like crap. Monday's not going to feel good.
Yeah.
But the reason Monday does feel good, if you're actually able to get out there and do it, is because you chose to basically do the total opposite of what you've been doing. And it's not about being perfect. It's about doing things that can find yourself and put yourself in if it takes about taking a day off. But being sedentary and eating like crap and drinking like crap and sleeping like crap for 2 months is not the way to prime yourself into getting ready to go out and have your best year. It's just not the way you're supposed to do it.
Yeah, but don't you think that a lot of people create their own little bottoms here and there? Because that's kind of how I feel about it sometimes. Like, I know when I'm getting in a bad spot, and then I go up 2 flights of stairs here, and then I'm sucking gas a little bit. I'm like, I better get my act together, or whatever the case may be. You're just sore, after putting together a puzzle or something. It's like, you're getting out of shape, and then people are looking for that. Okay, I better go now. And I often wonder if that's the procrastination sometimes.
No, it is for sure.
That we
clothes aren't fitting the same way.
You put it's on like we need that juice,
in
our brain. Yeah, it's like, that's what I needed.
Right,
there it is.
I'm getting out of breath. I need
rather
to
than just staying kind of on a steady plane.
Yeah. We look for the alarms.
It's not as exciting. Yeah, the alarms.
We look for the alarms in life to get us back at it, when we could be just looking for like, hey, I just kind of enjoy staying in shape and staying generally healthy. Or you go to the doctor and your blood work's terrible, your blood pressure's too high. You're like, hello,
all right, I better make a change.
Like, that's just what we do. We like to wait to the last minute, or we need a race, or we have something bad has to happen, or something's coming up. It's like when I used to work for the vitamin shop like 20 years ago, that was like around January, February, everyone and their brother came in for every weight loss supplement at all. And then the best thing was like 2 weeks before spring break, everyone came in for like diet pills. So gotta get bikini ready. Gotta get my 6-pack. I'm like, I'm sorry. This isn't going to work. Like, you're not going to get it in 2 weeks. Like, I know you want to, but if you want to, you should start it back in November, right? Instead of trying to starve yourself for a week, because then what happens after spring break? Putting it on again. Then you put it on for 3 months. And it's like, oh, now it's the summer again. Now I got to lose it again. It's that yo-yo effect. That also very bad for your body. But and again, you don't have to be perfect this time of year. No one asking, but hey, we have December rules for a reason. But what it's about is getting your mind right. And if you want to get your mind right, your body has to at least be in the same vicinity. They don't have to be walking side by side. They don't have to be totally committed and totally perfect and best fitness ever, but they got to be on the same page. You can't have, you have one's the co-pilot and one's the main pilot. They can't be so far off the same page they end up going the opposite direction, because then things are never going to work. They got to at least be somewhat in the same vicinity to be successful come January. So make that your focus. Because guess what? The worse this month is, the harder your first 30-minute run's going to be, when you get back out. So don't wait. Don't procrastinate. Get at it. Find something. Get your structure now, or at least ease into your structure and find what your happy structure is, so that when January does come, if that's what you're looking for in January for some reason, a worthless month in the calendar, as we move Christmas
month ever.
It is, seriously is. It's the most worthless month ever. Like, we'll just change the year up, do whatever. It's like, if next year, all the governing bodies like, you know what? We're moving Christmas to July. You know what January would mean? Nothing. January would be worthless. No one would care. It's only matters because Christmas. It comes after Christmas. Like, seriously, no one cares.
No, it's the New Year. You can kind of
Everyone's
culminate the
excuse to
year.
start
New Year's
over.
Eve. It's like, I'm really looking for that bad signal after New Year's Eve, man. Let's go celebrate, and I'll be like, oh man,
Jesus,
I'll start
I don't even
tomorrow,
remember
not today.
most of my New Year's.
January 2nd is when I start.
The only New Year's.
I
Day
tell you what, I'm
remember
looking forward to is like, since we don't have really any snow here, I'm looking forward to putting on the trail shoes and running a little snow up north over Christmas.
Enjoy it.
20 minutes here, 30 minutes there.
30 minutes there, 45
Putting
minutes
the snow,
here,
putting
5
the
minutes
shoes,
here.
yeah.
Putting the shoes on.
Shoes on.
Hopefully we get some snow.
Sweat.
Hopefully you get some snow. We went long today. Overtime. We'll deduct that from y'all's paycheck coming up. But no, in all seriousness, go to our website, c26triathlon.com. It's our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. We also have our club package. Signing up right now ends on December 15th. You have the club membership, the club hub package, and the club plus. Check that out. If you have any questions about it, you can email Mike, crushingiron@gmail.com.
Yeah, please do.
If you're looking to listen, get things off your plate, get ready. Don't wait till January. Everybody's kind of running around with like chickens with their head cut off, trying to find the way to get back on track. Get ahead of the game, because if you don't, you're just getting behind. We also have info on our coaches here. If you're looking for coaching for next year, click on that. Find the coach that fits you the best. Again, all different flavors, same cups of coffee. We have a few camps open, but not many. You can email Summer for camp info, c26operations@gmail.com. You can catch us on Instagram at c26triathlon. It's Monday. Be done.
All right, buddy. I'll see you, man.